Hello, beautiful souls. I am Larissa Nicole. Welcome to episode 4. I Said What I Said. Let's get into it.
I said what I said, no shame, no regret. All this fire you can't forget. Own it loud, say it proud. I said what I said, no backing down. I said what I said.
So, last week's episode, I shared a story about how I didn't step into a difficult conversation until I felt the fear around it diminish. And in speaking to that, I really wanted to break down what that process is actually called and talk through how I'm able to repurpose energy and send it back out for the greatest good. So today we're talking about alchemy and alignment. And I'm super excited to talk about this because, one, this is a people's choice topic. All of you who attended my live launch specifically told me that alignment was one topic that you wanted to discuss. And so let's start with, I think, why this topic even matters. Alchemy and alignment. And I'm really excited to just get into this because for me, these concepts and this terminology, it felt very far-fetched, honestly, prior to this last decade. It could be upbringing, it could be my environment. And what I'm learning is that these practices existed too. There's the evolution of the terminology and the language, that and where things are given different names over the course of period of time. But this concept of repurposing energy and sending it out for greater good. Like I can't recall my auntie and them like having this conversation with me. And so this is not something that you take a course on in college. I believe that this type of self-actualization and inner self-awareness, it takes intentionality to discover. And so I'm super excited to push this information out and share. And, I encourage you to do with it what you want, but I would really advise that whatever you do with it to be super intentional about it. And so to have this type of awareness of really what's going on around you, it's so interesting that like we're even in this vein because like me and my team of support, like we're in this vein. We understand what it feels like to be operating in a space where you can acknowledge what's happening around you and turn it into greater good. And I believe that this really I really want this to challenge you to elevate your position, your mindset, your authority, the way that you perceive what's happening around you on the earth, and begin to really leverage everything that you encounter as an opportunity to become a greater version of yourself. Whew, that was kind of a mouthful. I'm learning that even the practice of just slowing down and grounding myself and grounding my thoughts, that's a practice of self-awareness. Like, why do I have to speed up and talk faster? Like, I do have the authority to slow down my thoughts, to think about what I'm saying and to process them, right? And I'm learning that even that type of like erratic behavior and aggressive behavior, it can be divisive. And so I would urge you that even in situations where you feel like someone else's thoughts or words or energy, even your own thoughts are being divisive, or you're extremely excited, to just take a moment and pause and just slow everything down. Because I believe that's where opportunity lives. We're in the holiday season, so if anybody needs a reason right now to slow down, like just blame it on the holiday and just take these next 30 days to really just like rest and to just slow down. For anybody that needs a reason, call it the holiday slowdown. And in bringing this back to alchemy, It's in this space of slowing down that the self-awareness lives. Like, it's in that space of grounding yourself and saying, okay, I'm going to bring it back. That's where you can then begin to leverage both alchemy and alignment for the greater good. And so, alchemy, from the dictionary perspective, this is a process of deep transformation. It's where something ordinary, difficult, or painful is changed into something valuable, powerful, or meaningful. Musicians do this all the time. They literally take their breakup stories and they make number one charting albums, right? Like, we see this happening around us all the time. So this act, I'm just giving you language. It's called alchemy. But from my perspective, it's simply just taking the opportunity where you feel a transfer of energy, regardless of what that energy is, and repurposing it back out for the greater good. That's literally what it is. I literally see it in my mind. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie In and Out, but it's like the emoji movie. And I have a daughter, and so I watch the kid movies, and the kid movies really be having like messages behind them for the adults, I'm convinced. They know we're gonna be sitting up in there too, you know. And so I see it kind of similar to that movie. And like, when I think of alchemy, it's like this ball, like this mangled ball almost. And if you've seen the movie In and Out, there's like this tree kind of web of different emotions. But I see it as this like mangled ball, and literally someone passing that ball off to you, right? And now you've got the ball, and you can sit with the ball. You can let that whole everything that's wrapped up in that energy transfer, you can literally let it become who you are. You can settle into that space, or you can take that and you can repurpose it and push it back out in the right way, right? And so that's literally the way that I see it in my mind. And so I really wanted to simplify what this is and really give language to what it is. And now that I think about it, like, I feel like a lot of times in the Christian community, this is referred to as like a transfer of spirits. And, you know, energy is a spiritual transfer. And so there absolutely can be something, again, that could settle or remain. Because remember, if we're spirits and we're operating in a spiritual place, whether we realize it or not, some of us are very conscious of that, others are not. And so moving in these spaces, in these places, and being able to have this awareness, I think that's the biggest piece. Like, knowing that, okay, this is existing around me. I need to open my eyes and see it. And I can become a player of good, right? Again, if this ball is being passed to you, you can be on the right side of it, right? You can be on the right side of it. You can be on the right team, and you can push that back out for good. Don't be ignorant. Don't be asleep. Don't be dead out here walking around because you've settled into something that you have the power and the authority to repurpose and send back out for good. Furthermore, let's get into alignment, because alignment says, I'm aware now, right? Now I have this awareness. Now that I'm moving about, and I understand now that I have this authority to shift and send things out for good, right? Now alignment says, interacting on a day-to-day basis, I'm on an intentional track, right? Alignment says that now I have an intentional signal that I'm giving out, and I'm trying to attract like signals. And I'm using peace, and I'm following peace as an indicator. Peace is what aligns us. Peace is what gets us back in track. Go back and listen to last week's episode, because I gave language to the rhythms and the waves and how to position your mindset, right? Your thoughts, because creating certain waves and rhythms, all of this is activity that aids in the places in which our spirit goes and the energy that we attract. You may hear or see now like more people mentioning like a returning to their childhood. In other words, aka alignment, right? Like the purest form of who we ever were. You're returning to that. Like that's alignment. Can we just acknowledge that when we're children, we're operating in such a pure place, and it's life, and it's the traumas, and it's the situations, and it's the relationships, and it's the heartbreaks, and it's all of the judgment and the betrayal that then morphs us into being far and venturing far from who we ever were. And that course of alignment is just leading us back into the truest form of who God created us to be. You know, I think back even to previous seasons in my life, and I believe I mentioned on maybe the first episode sharing my story about a previous miscarriage. And, you know, even in that season, alchemy was at work, because that was such like a painful season of grief for me. And in that space of where I could have just let depression and uh, grief just like hold me down, I birthed out of that poetry. Like I never have written poetry before in my life. And out of that dark place, I decided to get up. Right? Like you what would have been the broken version of me became then a tool in the hands of God to refine me, right? The author that I am, it was always there. It was alignment. It was alchemy and alignment, right? That repurpose the energy with the hand of God on my life, because that's how all this even happens, right? Like we're not even going to act like any of this spiritual activity exists independent of him, right? Like he if he lives on the inside of us, then it is our duty to take this and push it back out for good. That's when I knew that energy doesn't have to be wasted. It can be redeemed. And that and alchemy, and that is alchemy and alignment at work. So let's just take a moment of reflection right here. Where in your life do you feel friction right now? Because that resistance that you feel, that discomfort, it might not be opposition at all. It might be misalignment trying to get your attention. And the question then becomes, are you fighting the very thing that God is trying to realign? Alchemy begins when you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, how is this shaping me? Alignment is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world taught you how to perform, shrink, hide, or survive. Your original design is not lost. It's just been waiting on your obedience. And alchemy, real transformation, it only happens when you surrender control and you trust divine order. Alchemy is what happens when God repurposes what the enemy meant for harm. Alignment is what happens when you finally agree with God about who you are. This is not about perfection, and is about positioning. And I believe with everything in me that if you choose to slow down, listen deeply, and move intentionally, you will not miss what God has prepared for you. I am Larissa Nicole. I am super excited to have gotten into this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I help women rediscover their peace within themselves and the world around them. And I do that through mindful travel, holistic health and wellness, and spiritual alignment. Don't forget, live on purpose, love without shrinking, and never forget who you are. Love you.
Say it proud.